Hi again. Welcome to the Your Amazing Edge podcast. This podcast is based on Sarah and my book, Discover Your Amazing Edge, which is available on Amazon in hardcover, softcover, and Kindle. And take a read. Uh, In the book, we emphasize the importance of recognizing your challenges and trauma, if that's what your challenges are, as a great source of power and energy. But you got to learn how to access that power. And there is a way to do that. I'm Zev Halpern here in the nation's capital on the East Coast.
And I am Sarah in Seattle, here in the nation's West Coast, and we are coast to coast and nationwide. So tune in wherever you are,
And worldwide.
worldwide.
Absolutely. We're here to give you real talk, real tools, real strategies to elevate your personal development in all aspects as you embrace a new transformative narrative for your life. Drop us a comment. We love your input, ideas, good
Please,
and bad. We got some thick skins around here. So believe me, anything you have to say is welcome.
indeed. We love hearing from you. And today we are actually diving into the benefits and challenges of house cleaning our relationships.
A
What
real
is
serious topic, pretty
it's
serious stuff. Uh,
pretty serious stuff. So, what is the impact on us of the people that we surround ourselves with, right? Are they furthering our growth and supporting our journey, or are they draining us? Who are our cheerleaders, your cheerleaders, and who are your detractors?
so, Sarah, a lot of times people think that the people who support them the most, people they love, people they care about, are really, in some ways, maybe unwittingly, maybe purposefully, working against them because people get jealous. People don't like if all of a sudden there's some kind of abrupt change and you all of a sudden embrace this. I'm going to climb the mountain and I'm going to be all I can be in my best version. That scares the living crap out of people
It does.
who we know, and all kinds of feelings come out. Jealousy. I mean, it goes A to Z. But the
Do you
problem
think
is
that's
that who
human
you.
nature? Is this human nature, or is this more like a frenemy type of thing?
I think it's human nature, and frenemies is a little more negative. This is just. It's very difficult to all of a sudden when you're on a certain trajectory, when you see one of your friends just take off. And people just get all kinds of emotions about that. They start looking at themselves. They don't feel good about themselves. So they do things to undermine you. Is it natural? I think it is. But it's something we really, really need to be aware of. And today we're really talking about who's our counsel? Who do we depend on? And are those people, in fact, the ones who are our best cheerleaders? You got any stories like that? I mean, I can tell many stories, but
Yes, go ahead. Share one of yours first, please.
I mean, let's take family for instance. You're close with somebody, you tell them all kinds of things about yourself. Not always good to tell everything about yourself, by the way. Be careful what you divulge because that all that information can sometimes be used as ammo against you. So you have to be really, I don't want to make anybody paranoid, but you need to know who's for you and who's against you. And so, I mean, I have situations where I've told family members things about me and my life, and only to find out, that they weren't exactly supportive of me, and that they were saying some things that were quite negative. And I only found that out because usually when people talking, we always find it out. Just let some information out on the grapevine, and sooner or later it's going to come back to you from someone, and that someone is the person who you still might love them, you might care about them, but for some reason, they have entered some zone where it's not going to be helpful for you. How about you, Sarah?
Oh my goodness. So I guess I wanted to talk about when do we know if we need to house clean a relationship? Like, so there are going to be people who are jealous of our success, and some of it is conscious, and some of it is on a subconscious level. They don't necessarily mean us any harm, right? So they're not malicious. Then there are the malicious people. So, how do we even tell the difference between those types in the house cleaning process?
Not such an easy thing. And that's why it's important to be careful and to be aware and to be conscious of, when you're on a certain trajectory, all of a sudden you've decided to make some changes in your life and to change the narrative, change your perspective, and certainly your mindset. Recognize that that's going to jar some people, and it's important to carefully choose your counsel, um, especially who's the source and what are their intentions. It's just when we embrace self-development and we know when we're looking for our unique edge, it requires us to take stock of how we're conducting our life and adjust. And what happens there is that one of those adjustments is about who we hang with, who's our tribe, who was our tribe. Do we really need to take stock and do a bit of inventory to make sure that the people who we're um, communicating with have our best interests in mind, and that they want to support our aspirations and the intentions that we set for ourselves. It's a human nature is a very difficult thing, especially when we enter the realm of jealousy and change. People do not like change, and they don't like to see people around them change too much, especially when they're changing and reaching some kind of new plateau or the next level, or whatever kind of level.
Right?
We have to choose our confidants wisely. Don't share everything, please.
Yeah.
Don't share everything. That's a lesson we're all going to learn one way or the other, because it's
So
going to
here,
bite.
here's a scenario. Now, this is just taking us a little bit off topic, but what do you think, or rather, how should we handle a scenario like this? And this might be more common than anybody thinks. So, you're married. Everybody's married or they have a partner. Let's say you're married and you have a partner. And let's say that you have kind of not the best relationship with your in laws. And you've asked your partner to keep some details about your private life to themselves. You keep it inside the family, you don't leak it to the in laws. What happens when your partner leaks it to the in laws who don't even like you in the first place and then try to use it against you? How do you deal with your partner?
Straight up. The problem is not everybody has a straight up relationship with their partner and they can't say what's on their mind. But if you get burnt like that, partners are supposed to be, there's partners are partners by trust. Trust is a big factor that, trust. A lot of people think trust confines us, but really trust enlarges our ability to do more things because we can venture out into the world without all kinds of people checking up on us and, that kind of horrible relationship, which a lot of people have, although some people have brought that upon themselves by doing things that caused distrust and, the belief in you is reduced. But in this case, the case that we go through in social media, the whole issue of unfriending, people get all caught up about unfriending.
They
It,
do.
I mean, it may sound really harsh, and the implications are absolutely negative, and maybe they're angry and all that. But truthfully, it's about making wise choices. And who isn't invested in your success. And you come to find that out, unfortunately, sometimes inadvertently. And when you do, it can be crushing when you find out that someone you love, like family, like you were talking about, Sarah, goes ahead and, leaks information because there's loyalties in this world. And some people, unfortunately, have misguided loyalties and they don't understand, like they don't have a hierarchy of the priority. If you have a partner that you trust and that you live with, that should be your highest priority, even above family. But it isn't that way for everybody because, there's that whole blood is thicker than water stuff, which unfortunately it doesn't always pan out.
No.
It might be thicker than water, but it doesn't prevent people from being jealous, from being mean, from being cruel, and from people's insecurity basically all of a sudden getting in the way of you and what you're trying to do with your life, especially in terms of bringing you down, telling other people nasty things about you. These are stories that happen all the time. And we need to be conscious of them, especially for people who are making amazing changes in their life, the people we work with who really are looking to discover their edge, to figure out a way to advance themselves to the next level of their lives. When they do that, you better expect that there's going to be an onslaught of stuff that you go, I couldn't believe what I heard. I just couldn't believe it. Well, believe it.
Right. Believe it as well. And let's talk about, here's one for the professionals out there, for anybody who works in a corporation or has a job anywhere. You're not a solopreneur. What happens when you become the target of that office bully?
Yeah. I mean, you can become the target of that because you're advancing and they're recognizing it and they see you get stuff that they're not getting. And then all of a sudden the campaign begins, to bring you down. I mean, that's corporate day to day. People deal with that horrible stuff on a daily basis. It's not right. It's not lovely. It's not beautiful. It's reality. It's the facts on the ground. And you need to understand again, your friend at work is your friend at work until all of a sudden you're made the supervisor. Good
Exactly.
luck
And
because
good
all
luck.
those things that you divulged to them that you shouldn't have, or that maybe in another world you might have reconsidered when you realized what's panning out right now. That
Yeah,
not
that
such
is,
a good idea.
never share your personal life with coworkers. That's just my opinion because it can come back to you. It really can.
And we're not trying. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything here. Sugarcoating, is just that. I love eating things with sugar coating. It's not always good for you, and it's certainly not going to prevent you or help you watch and be conscious of these facts. Because this podcast and the things that Sarah and I are trying to do with other people, this is the kind of stuff that comes up. People who make amazing changes in their life. It's not easy to do that. There are mountains to climb. There are things that you have to get over. And unfortunately, the tribe that you've been hanging with, sometimes you outlive them, you outgrow them. You all of a sudden, you have to unfriend. And you have to look at it that unfriending is not an issue of cruelty, it's an issue of survival, self care, caring about your own
Exactly.
aspirations and your own, where you're trying to get to. It's like,
And after you unfriend someone, there is etiquette. And I just wanted to say this because it's hard to be unfriended. And let's say people just don't gel anymore. And so the relationship isn't working out. Even if you unfriend someone, keep it to yourself. Why? Like, it's never really good to gossip about people, in my opinion.
especially on social media. I mean, social
But
media is alive. It's live. It's got arms and legs and
it,
mouths and ears, and it's always working.
but
And
it's still, another person and give them some dignity by not telling the world why you unfriended that person. Just keep it to yourself and keep it cordial.
A lot of people sometimes, Sarah, like you kick up something where I hear people go, "Do you know what that blankety blank unfriended me? They unfriended me." You know, I mean, how
Oh,
many?
they
I've heard that numerous times. They get so mad, they get so, and then they had the nerve to unfriend me, and it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe there's a reason, maybe not. But unfriending also is it's kind of like the word is new to us. Um,
it is.
and
And what
but there were old words that described it also. Curtail your relationship, stop talking to people, end a relationship, let them know you're tired of their stupid gossiping or whatever. But
if
unfriending has taken on the big. This is the thing. It's a hurtful thing. It hurts, but some people sometimes it's deserved. And again, if you're really trying to move yourself forward, you really have to assess who you're hanging with, because just like on a basketball court, if you play with people who are not as good as you, and they're not as they're much less, then you'll be a big fish in a small pond. If you play with a whole different crowd, you're going to learn things. They're going to see a different you. They're not familiar with who you are or what you've been or who you were. They're interested in what you've become, who you are now. And that's something that we all need. We need support. We don't need people who are who who are our friends, who basically tear us up when we're in behind our backs. Feeling guilty about doing this, by the way, it doesn't mean that it's wrong, to cut ties. It doesn't mean, when you feel guilty. You know what that means? It means that those relationships were important to you. You
absolutely.
held them in high esteem. These relationships matter to you, and to curtail them and to unfriend them or to do anything, I mean, it brings up terrible feelings of guilt and, oh, I don't want to do that. That's just so nasty of me. Um, but you know what? We have to do some things sometimes, and we have to clean house. We have to
So
take a look.
what would you say are some reasons to actually clean house and unfriend somebody? Because to me, it's kind of it's really a big deal for me to unfriend somebody. Like, I don't think I've ever really done it, to tell you the truth. So, what would be some red flags, and what would be some really good reasons to unfriend somebody?
When you see that you're trying to advance yourself, and they're throwing all kinds of bad counsel your way, that no, you shouldn't do that. You're only going to end up failing. You're going to just all of a sudden you start to hear those things come back to you in negativity, and in kind of, no, don't, you can't, you won't, you're fooling yourself, you're this or you're that. When you're trying as hard as you can to find a way to extricate yourself from a past that wasn't so friendly to you, people try to pull you down. They don't want you to change. Change is very scary, and it's scary to the people we love, and it's scary to the people who are around us. And it's crucial to take stock of this, and to make sure who you're talking to is somebody who's going to use what you're talking to them about in the most positive way. I mean, think about people who cheer you on, or people who want to see you reach your best version. They're not selfish about it. They're supportive about it. And there are those people in my life, and I have great, amazing respect for them. And there's other people in my life who, they don't pay me any mind, because they see that I'm moving in a different direction, and have been for a long time.
Right?
So I think, when you say how do you know? I think you need to develop an awareness, and you need to do it up front. If you're changing, you've made a decision to move forward in your life, then you need to take a look and take stock of who you're hanging around with, because it's going to have a great deal to do with your mindset, your positive, as you move positively into some, transformational future that is a lot better than the current mediocre whatever you've been living, because you've been listening to all these messages from the past, and they've defined you. You've all of a sudden decided to define Stake out your own territory. That's the time to take a look at who you're attracting, who is deflecting, who is detracting.
Right?
And as you evolve, you're going to adopt new perspectives, and you'll develop like a whole new tribe that that aligns with your goals and adds to your positive journey.
Right. And hopefully, well, we know that change is a constant in life. So let's make that change positive. Let's gravitate toward those positive people who are our best cheerleaders. They're there, and we're lucky
And
when we find them.
it also, it has something to do, as a lot of things have to do, with letting go of what no longer serves you. Not such an easy thing. Let it go. They're singing, everybody's singing, but the truth
Yeah,
is,
you can
let
say
it go. Let it go, and actually flush it down the toilet,
exactly.
because it is there's things in our lives that were very helpful to us at the particular time we were doing it. They were coping mechanisms. We needed them. They supported us when other people didn't. And then they become outdated, and it's time to flush them. And we don't have to take everything with us into the future. We talked about letting go of the baggage, but it's a constant. We do have to keep on taking that baggage and throwing it over the hill, over the cliff, because it just doesn't. We're influenced. We got humans. All the studies in the world about imitation, about how people. I mean, there have been studies and studies and studies. We imitate. We have we get we cut corners. We do immoral things sometimes when our feelings get hurt. We do nasty things when our feelings get hurt, and maybe we're sorry about them, maybe we're not. I mean, I've learned there are some cruel people in the world. And ever come across any cruel people, Sarah?
I have come across people, absolutely. High school comes to mind. But what happens when you have cruel in laws? What does somebody do when you're married to somebody for such a long time and you've never been able to make inroads with your in laws, no matter how hard you try? How does that to the whole house cleaning the relationship? Especially since we're in a society where everybody gets together on holidays, birthdays are big deals. And so you'll cross paths with those people at different points. So, what do we do in
Yeah,
those?
everybody gets together on holidays, with people who they really don't want to get together with. And there are some, relatives that do the kind of things we're talking about here. Family who we would want to be supportive of us, but who are not. Argumentative people from the other side of the family who never liked you to begin with. Um, you need to make that assessment, and it's about putting your own foot down. Life is just about setting boundaries. And when somebody keeps on, smashing you up, demeaning you, same old, it's time to take a position. You don't have to take a loud position. You can remove yourself from, the situation, and tell whoever it is that you're related to, who's related to them, that you're not playing that game anymore. I'm done. I'm
Yeah,
finished. I'm not
you
playing it
are.
anymore. There's going to have to be, and truthfully, you should be standing up for me. Tell
Right.
them, give them a piece of your mind, give them a piece of your mind, because that's what you feel. And you need to tell them that. And if they tell you to blow off, or what off, well, you've made your point, and then you need to live your point. And it's not easy, because we do have to see each other. So you don't talk to them. And they think they're crappy about you anyway. Why
They
do you
do.
have
They do.
to?
And then there's this topic in recent years where books have come out where they talk about how to go no contact with family members. So that's the most extreme form of house cleaning a relationship. What do you think?
Personally, I think that they've taken that too far.
You told
Seen
me.
it. I've seen it right here in the office. I've seen it, heard about it countless times of people who take that advice a little too much. For instance, grandparents who can't see their grandchildren because one of the kids is so pissed off about things that happened during childhood. We understand that. But that everybody deserves another chance. I mean, if they're crappy, they're crappy. Don't give them, a chance after that. But I know people who, they cry themselves to sleep, over these family issues where in those books, whatever that particular tone of those books is, just cut them off. Just do that.
I mean,
Is it cruel or is it not? Is it your fault? Is it their fault? Is it the that they're going to deprive them of something? They look. You need to decide. It's about it's very personal, and it's something and when you enter the family blood is thicker than water realm, this is a very tough place, but I have to tell you, I know plenty of people who have been brought down by their families and they haven't advanced because their families are just too strong and they can't get past it. They can't tell them, they can't confront them, they can't take a position with them. And I encourage you to do everything you can to muster the courage and bravery, to clear out a path for yourself and make sure that if you're on the receiving end of demeaning years of demeaning words and whatever, don't spend any time with them. Don't give them, the time of day, even though you feel because family you have to. You have to send a message too. They're sending you a message. The message they're sending you is, screw you. We don't like you, and we're making it. And there's some kind of thing we're getting out of this, a negative perk, whatever it may be. But
and
you need to embrace, the freedom to choose who gets to be part of your narrative. And those of us who don't realize that are in big trouble because people will move in on you if you don't set a boundary, if you don't say no, if you say yes, if you're, wishy-washy in your presentation, you're going to get taken advantage of. And, it's an understatement to say navigating relationships,
yeah,
can be complex. It is. It is because relationships are we're social animals. And, different people are important to us in different times in our life. And sometimes it comes, in the course of human events, we no longer get any positive anything from that relationship. It's time to, don't be, you have to be cruel, but you have to be firm and you have to be assertive about it. And, I think, you bring up the whole issue of assertiveness. Um, so many people take so many nasty things that people say to them and they're just not assertive. They don't have it within themselves. I say to you that assertiveness is a crucial aspect of living in the world that we live in, because if you can't assert your needs and what you need,
right,
you're going to get taken advantage of and you're going to get piled on.
right. And I wanted to go to that extreme topic again, the no contact topic. I know somebody who has not allowed his parents to see his children. Like they saw his first child once, and then they have not seen any of the grandchildren born after that because this person was highly abused during childhood. Now, this person is highly vocal about his stance, so I'm not saying anything that is this is not a client of mine, and this is somebody who's highly vocal to everybody he knows about his stance, especially.
And there are those people who make their lives the public domain. I mean, there are people who, I mean, just look on social media. I mean, people throwing it up,
Yeah, right,
social
right,
media. They're living their life on social media and making things they should never make public.
right, right. And so this is a known thing that I'm repeating. But in this case, You think it's okay for somebody to cut off their parents if they were abused? Do you think that's okay?
Every situation is relative. There is, there's, there are people who have worked through those things, and there's things that are unforgivable. There are, and I've always maintained the view. There are some things humans do to others that are unforgivable, and that it takes a special superhuman effort to be able to do that, to make up for the kinds of whatever it was, cruelty, abuse, whatever it was happening. It's a very, very shaky thing, and so therefore it's a relative. There's people who can forgive, and for the sake of grandparents and grandchildren and uncles and aunts and whatever it is in the family dynamic, they can make room. But recognize that there are some times. I mean, look, I know some who they won't see their grandchildren because they're not allowed, and they're suffering terribly. I don't know all the reality of the whole thing. Sometimes it's just damn unfair.
It
Other
is,
times it's well deserved.
yeah, exactly.
It is but someone's made a decision, because whatever, um, something happened. That's for sure. Will we know the finer, intricate things? I'm not sure. We'll know that. We have to decide for ourselves. But we do have to clean house, especially for people who are trying to move forward and not stay stuck in this, ever continuing cycle of unhappiness and mediocrity, or they want to do something with their lives. If you do, expect sticks and stones, because it's coming. People are going to throw stones at you, and they're going to throw stones at your um, idea. And if you advance, oh my God, um, it
And
is
how,
going to happen, and you have to face it.
yeah, so how do you face it when somebody's throwing stones at you and maybe trying to take you down due to jealousy?
How much do you want what you want? How much do you want what you want in this life? How important is it? You have to make that decision at
Right,
that time. I mean, not every. It's not. We're not taught to do this. This is not a things we learn in school. This is things in the school of life.
right.
And I would also advise you, don't believe everything you think, because our thinking a lot of times is affected by interference, all kinds of interference. So just because you think something or feel something doesn't mean that it's believable. It is, and it could affect you if you choose to let it. You have to decide for yourself, what's important, what's not important, when is it time to free yourself. You know, you need to prioritize your well-being. You need to surround yourself with people who uplift you. Why not? Be uplifted,
Yes,
not
please.
not drainers, not negativity. People who just they can't say a positive thing. And there for a lot of people, there's good reason. It's still, you can't be around that and expect to advance yourself and push yourself up a mountain when all you hear is, you'll never do it. I couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. We'll
That's
never do it. We just won't do it. And I mean,
right.
there's a lot of that. There isn't so many people who are cheerleading you.
No.
They're not like hundreds. It's not like there's a million people cheerleading you. You have to find your cheerleaders. And
Yes.
when you do, your cheerleaders will help you advance to places you never thought you could go, and you would have never gotten to if you held on to certain relationships that just dragged you down and kept you in that vicious cycle that you were in and trying to get out of for a long time. All that therapy you had or didn't have, all that thinking time that um, you need to take stock and choose to let go of the negativity. Surround yourself with positive, uplifting influences, and there's no question that will lead to fulfillment and joy in your life. It just will, because you'll feel the positivity of people who are really, they're not the jealous type, they're rooters. You know, they care about you. They've become your friends because they admire you. Maybe you inspire them, um,
Exactly.
and maybe they inspire you. But
Exactly. Those
boy,
are the relationships, is when you inspire each other and you can cheerlead each other.
I
Because
mean,
there's,
we all need inspiration. We need
yeah,
to be inspired. You know, it's not like people throw out all kinds of positive things at us. You're wonderful. You're going to be great. You're going to be fantastic. Well, you know, in the world of giving a trophy for everything, maybe, I'm not a big believer. You know, everybody doesn't deserve a trophy till they deserve a trophy. Just because, you know, Mr., you know, the person or Mrs., you know, is better than them at something, it doesn't mean they need to get a trophy as well. There are people who excel and they should be recognized for what they do, and, you know, honorable mentions and all that, you know, wonderful. But a trophy for everybody, that's a whole nother topic, the culture of self-esteem. And I could talk about that for a long time because been a big disservice to a lot of people, especially when they reach adulthood and they have nothing to stand on. They can't, you know,
right,
they don't have a leg to stand on or a pot to piss in because their their gains were fabricated. They
right,
were reinforced for things they didn't do. We need
right,
to, you know, it needs to be authentic, authenticity, vulnerability. This is, you know, in 2025, vulnerability and authenticity are capital. And if you have the stomach, you know, and the nuts to be able to show it, um, people are going to and do it while sticks and stones are being thrown at you, then you're going to go far because
yeah,
you've already gotten to the next level. So, look, we hope you weigh in. We hope this is a really important topic. It is a topic in our book, one of the chapters, and you can certainly read a lot more about it in Discover Your Amazing Edge, available on Amazon. And we want to hear from you. You know, what are your strategies? What do you do? How do you deal with these kinds of things? I mean, the kinds of questions that Sarah was asking today are questions that everybody has. How do we deal with these, you know, human situations that just there's no books that have answers for them. They
right,
are on the job training sometimes, and sometimes we blow it, and sometimes we don't. Or
right.
sometimes somebody wonderful lends us some wisdom that just makes the whole thing work. And we should all be so lucky to have that. So we have a lot of things going on, um, webinars and master classes. Ask us about our concierge personal development services. And we're here twice a week. On Fridays, we deal with Spicy Friday edition, which we get deep into relationship issues, intimacy, emotional intimacy, staying together, long haul relationships, A to Z. And we deal with personal development and we deal with relationships. That's what Sarah and Zev do. So,
And have
um,
been for quite some time.
do you have anything to say? Anything to throw in? Anything extra here?
Yes. Who, hello, whoever's watching. I just wanted to say this to you. If you are in a relationship where you are literally being dragged down and you feel emotionally suffocated and paralyzed and guilty and you don't know what to do, you're not alone. We
And
are,
something's wrong, and recognize something's wrong.
yes,
And there are antidotes. There are ways to get past this. It's not hopeless. It's not hopeless, but it's not easy.
and we are here to help. Just drop us a DM. We would love to hear from you and guide you and be here for you in any way that we can.
One thing for sure, you'll always be heard.
Yes,
You'll feel that way too. And to be heard is one of the most wonderful things we can have in this life. because we all want to be heard. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, Sarah. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
as
Always.
always. And until next time, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and prioritize your narrative
Yes.
in an understanding way. And we'll see you next time. We'll see you Friday for Spicy Friday. So look, have a good rest of the week.
Take care.